Hi there, friend. So glad you came across my channel. If you're visiting for the first time, hit that subscribe button and share this video with someone you care about. Drop a comment with your location. I read everyone. Let's begin. I saw everything clearly that evening. We arrived at the backyard party, and in no time she was drawn straight to a guy from her office. Let's call him the workplace flirt. I watched as she laughed at his jokes, rested her hand on his arm, and leaned in close while he whispered. Her whole posture gave off the impression that she was single and interested. Meanwhile, I stood nearby, drinks in hand, practically invisible, as my wife behaved like I wasn't even there. After an hour of this, I decided to step in. I walked over and offered her a drink. She barely looked at me, took the glass, and turned her attention right back to him. "Oh, this is my husband," she said, introducing me like I was a vague acquaintance. The guy gave me one of those weak handshakes and a smug grin, the kind that suggests he sees married women as a fun challenge. He said, "Your wife was just telling me about her latest project. Sounds really exciting." Curious, since she hadn't told me anything about it, I asked, "What project?" She jumped in fast. "The marketing campaign for the wellness retreat. I told you last week." But she hadn't. I let that slide and tried to join the conversation, only to be cut off or ignored whenever I spoke. I made a comment about the music, and she rolled her eyes. I suggested we check on the food, but she brushed me off saying we had just arrived. Then another colleague joined us. My wife eagerly introduced the office flirt, praising his achievements and promotion, and when it came to me, she waved a hand vaguely and said, "And this is my husband." No name, no mention of what I do, just my husband, like I was nothing more than part of the scenery. I quietly excused myself and moved across the yard, wondering if I was overreacting. Maybe she was just being friendly. But half an hour later, she was still there, laughing, leaning in close, and clearly acting like she wasn't married. I decided to see what would happen if I confronted this. I returned and said gently, "I'm thinking about heading home soon. Got an early morning tomorrow." She reacted like I'd suggested something outrageous. "We just got here. Why don't you get another drink or talk to someone else?" she said dismissively. "I'd rather talk to my wife," I replied. At that, her pleasant facade cracked. She dropped the fake smile and looked at me sharply. "Look, I'm having a conversation. If you're uncomfortable with me being social, maybe you should think about why that is." Even the office flirt looked uneasy now. "I'm fine with you being social," I said calmly. "I'm not fine with you flirting." My words hung in the air. She straightened her posture, crossed her arms, and delivered the line that made everything clear. "I'm not flirting. I'm just being friendly. And if you can't handle that, the gate's right there." She pointed toward it with a smirk, clearly expecting me to back off or apologize. Some people nearby turned to watch us. I followed her gaze to the gate, then back to her. "You know what? You're right," I said, taking out my car keys and walking away. As I headed to the gate, I heard her call out, "Wait! Where are you going?" But I didn't stop. I didn't even look back. I went straight to my car, started the engine, and drove away. In my rearview mirror, I caught a glimpse of her standing there, speechless, while the office flirt looked deeply uncomfortable. The drive home was the clearest my mind had felt in a long time. She had dared me to leave, probably assuming I wouldn't. But this time, I wasn't bluffing. By the time I pulled into the driveway, my phone was buzzing nonstop. Text after text appeared before I'd even gotten out of the car. Still, I didn't read them right away. I went inside, grabbed a beer, and settled on the couch. The house felt calm, quiet, a place where I could finally think without being belittled. After about 20 minutes, I finally checked my phone. A dozen messages, all from her. They started off angry. "What was that about? You can't just leave. Everyone's asking where you went. This is so embarrassing. Answer your phone." Then the tone shifted. "I'm getting a ride home with someone else. We need to talk." The later messages sounded more desperate. She was realizing that I hadn't left as a dramatic stunt. I was gone, and now she was the one who had to explain where her husband went. An hour later, I heard her pull into the driveway. She slammed the front door so hard I thought the frame might crack. She stormed in, furious. "What's wrong with you?" she demanded. I took a slow sip of my beer and replied calmly, "Nothing's wrong. You told me the door was right there, so I used it." "That's not what I meant, and you know it," she snapped. "Really? Because it sounded clear to me. You didn't want me there, so I left," I said evenly. She began pacing, gesturing wildly. "You humiliated me in front of everyone. They all asked where you went. I had to lie and say you weren't feeling well." "Why not just tell them the truth?" I asked. "That you told me to leave." "Because that would make me look like a terrible wife," she exclaimed. I nearly laughed then. "And flirting with your coworker while ignoring your husband? What does that make you look like?" "I wasn't flirting, honestly. You're being so insecure. I was just trying to connect with people professionally. You'd get it if you cared about advancing your career." There it was again. That sharp comment meant to make me feel small. A few months ago, I probably would have taken the bait. But now, as I sat there watching her go on, I felt completely clear-headed. "Networking?" I asked. "That's what we're calling it?" "Yes," she snapped back. "And if you can't handle me talking to male coworkers without getting jealous, maybe you need therapy." I stood up and headed to the kitchen. She followed close behind, still going on about how I was the insecure one and holding her back. I grabbed a beer from the fridge, moving slowly. "Are you even listening?" she barked. "I am," I said calmly. "You're telling me that laughing at everything another man says, touching his arm, and introducing me as just my husband is considered networking." "I didn't introduce you like that," she shot back. "Oh, really? Then what's my name?" I asked, looking right at her. She froze for a moment, mouth opening and closing, struggling to answer. Silence hung between us. I continued. "You remembered his name? You bragged about his promotion, all his successes. But me? I was just your husband, like I was a stranger you happened to bring along. And when I tried to join your conversation, you dismissed me. When I asked if we should check the food together, you brushed me off. When I said I wanted to spend time with you, my wife, you told me to go talk to someone else." Her cheeks flushed. "You're twisting this," she protested. "Am I? Because from where I stood, it felt like you were embarrassed by me, like you didn't want me there at all." "That's ridiculous," she said, sounding defensive. "Is it? You even told me to leave when I confronted you." She went quiet, and I could see her thinking, searching for a way to turn this around. Then she said, "You know what your problem is? You don't trust me. A marriage needs trust." "That's true," I replied. "But trust has to be earned, not just demanded." "So you don't trust me?" she asked, her voice dropping. I paused, looking straight at her. "Should I?" The question hung in the air, heavy. She stared back, for the first time with no quick comeback. "How dare you?" she whispered. "How dare I what? Ask a fair question, after you acted like you weren't married all night?" "I wasn't acting single," she insisted. "Then what would you call it?" She threw up her hands. "I call it being normal, talking to people without you hovering." "I wasn't hovering," I said. "I was simply trying to be part of my wife's conversation." "You were being controlling." "I was being a husband," I answered firmly. She glared at me with a look I hadn't seen before, pure resentment. "Well, maybe I don't want a husband who behaves like that." Her words hit like an explosion. We both froze, realizing exactly what she had just revealed. "Good to know," I said softly, before walking upstairs, leaving her standing alone in the kitchen. I sat on the edge of the bed, taking off my shoes. After about 10 minutes, I heard her slow, measured steps coming up. She was planning her next move. When she walked in, her expression was different. No more anger, replaced by what looked like regret. But I'd seen this act before. "Baby," she said quietly, closing the door behind her. "I'm sorry." I didn't mean any of what I said downstairs. I didn't look at her. Which part didn't you mean? All of it. I was just upset. I can't think straight when I'm mad. So, you do want a husband who acts like that? I asked, still not meeting her gaze. She sat down beside me and reached for my hand. I want you. I want us. I don't know what came over me tonight. I pulled my hand away and stood. What came over you was 3 hours of flirting with another man. It wasn't flirting, she blurted out, then quickly tried to recover. I mean, maybe it seemed that way to you, but that's not what it was. Right, I said. Just like telling me to leave wasn't really telling me to leave. She followed me as I moved around the room. I was embarrassed, okay? You made things awkward in front of my coworkers. I made things awkward just by being there? By showing I wasn't happy with how you were behaving? By making it clear that you were ignoring me all night? I turned fully to face her. You shut me down every time I tried to join in. You wouldn't introduce me properly. And when I told you I felt uncomfortable, you told me to leave. How was I supposed to act like that was okay? She was silent for a moment, then tried a different angle. You're right. I should have handled it better. But you need to understand, networking is important for my career. I can't be constantly thinking about how things look to you. I'm not asking you to obsess over every detail, I said. I'm asking you not to flirt with other men. I wasn't flirting, she insisted again. You laughed at every joke, touched his arm, leaned in close every time he spoke, and kept your back turned to me for 2 hours straight. That's just how I am with people. I'm naturally friendly. Are you like that with women too? I asked pointedly. She hesitated. What do you mean? Do you touch your female colleagues like that? Laugh at all their jokes? Get that close when they talk? A longer pause this time. That's different, she finally said. How exactly? I asked. No answer. I turned back to the dresser, quietly getting ready for bed. So here's what happened. She trailed after me, her voice rising. What exactly are you saying? That I'm not allowed to talk to other men? That I need your approval to have a conversation? I replied, it's simple. When you're married, you don't act like you're not. I wasn't acting like that, she shot back. Then how were you acting? I asked. She didn't answer. I grabbed a t-shirt and changed clothes while she stood there, looking frustrated and desperate for something else to say. Her tone softened. Look, maybe I got a little carried away. Maybe I was overly friendly. But that doesn't mean anything. I came home to you. I'm married to you. Yeah, I said, but tonight you came home just to argue after leaving a party where you told me to go home. I was angry, she said. I didn't really mean what I said. Did you mean it when you said you might not want a husband like me? I asked. She hesitated. I was upset, she mumbled. That's not an answer, I said. No, I didn't mean it, she finally admitted, moving closer to me. I love you. I want to fix this. I stepped away. Fixing this means admitting what really happened, and you haven't done that yet. I just did, she insisted. Number, you said maybe you got carried away. Maybe you were too friendly. That's different from saying you were flirting and then dismissed me when I called it out. Her face flushed. Fine. Maybe I was flirting a bit, but it didn't mean anything. It meant something to me, I said. Well, maybe you're just too sensitive, she snapped. That was the real her showing again. Defensive and dismissive when cornered. I kept my voice calm. Maybe I am too sensitive. Maybe other husbands would let this go. But I'm not most husbands. And that was when she realized her mistake. She'd basically admitted that she thought I was the problem, not her actions. I didn't mean it that way, she said quickly. Yes, you did, I replied. And that tells me everything I need to know. I walked toward the bathroom. When I get out of the shower, this conversation is over. We can't just leave it like this, she protested. We're not discussing it anymore, I said. You're just trying to defend your behavior, and I'm explaining why it hurt me. That's not a real conversation. I shut the door, turned on the water, and let her pace around the bedroom. When I came out later, she was sitting on the bed, looking drained. What now? She asked softly. Now, I said, you figure out what kind of wife you want to be. And I decide what kind of husband I want to be. What does that mean? She whispered. It means things are going to change, I replied as I got into bed and turned off the light. She stayed sitting there in the dark for a while before lying down beside me. Neither of us spoke another word. In the morning, I woke up to an empty bed. She was already downstairs, her voice carrying as she spoke on the phone with that overly sweet tone she used when trying to sound like the victim. I don't know what's wrong with him, she was telling her sister. He completely overreacted last night. I was just being friendly at the barbecue and he lost it. I dressed quietly, listening from the top of the stairs. No, I wasn't flirting, she continued. You know me, I'm just naturally outgoing. But he acted like I was throwing myself at some guy. It was so embarrassing. As I came downstairs, she lowered her voice and quickly ended the call. Morning, she said with fake cheerfulness. I made coffee. Thanks, I said, pouring myself a cup and sitting at the table. She lingered nearby, clearly unsure how to restart the conversation. Finally, she said, I was thinking, maybe we should go to marriage counseling. To work on these trust issues. Trust issues? I asked. Well, your trust issues, she clarified. It might help you talk through why you get so jealous when I'm just being social. I almost laughed. You want me to see a therapist because you flirted and told me to leave a party? I want us to improve communication, she said. Last night spiraled out of control because we weren't listening to each other. I listened just fine, I replied. You told me to leave. I left. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it and lit up. Oh, it's my mom. She's worried about us. You called your mom too? I asked. I needed to talk to someone, she replied. You weren't exactly communicating last night. She answered the call before I could say another word. Hi, Mom. No, everything's fine. We're just working through some stuff, she said, walking into the living room, but still speaking loudly enough for me to hear. He's been really controlling lately. No, I didn't do anything. I was just talking to a coworker. I don't know why he's being so insecure. I finished my coffee and headed toward the garage. Where are you going? She called after me. To clear my head in the garage, I said. We need to talk about this, she insisted. No, we don't, I replied. You're already handling it perfectly, calling everyone you know and making sure they think I'm the unreasonable one. I walked outside and started rearranging tools that didn't need rearranging, just to give myself time and space to think. She was busy portraying herself as the victim, spinning a story where I was the jealous, controlling husband, not someone hurt by her actions. Classic tactic: deflect blame, seek sympathy, and avoid responsibility. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. Hey there, remember me? It's Daniel. We met at the barbecue yesterday. I'm your brother-in-law, married to your sister. Listen, I don't want to stir things up, but my wife got a call this morning and your wife was really upset. She said you two had a fight. I told Daniel it was a disagreement about her chatting with a guy at work. Well, more like flirting. And when I brought it up, she told me to leave. Daniel paused, then said, She told my wife you got jealous because she was networking. Networking? Sure, that's what she's calling it. Daniel tried to explain. You know how she is? Outgoing, friendly. It doesn't mean anything. I replied, Well, it means something to me. Daniel gently suggested I ease up on her since she was really upset. I almost ended the call right there. Instead, I asked him, What would you do if your wife ignored you for hours at a party, flirted with another man, and then told you to leave when you complained? Another pause. That's different, he said. Why is it different? Because she's just friendly? Daniel insisted he wasn't saying that, but I pointed out that he was excusing her behavior just because that's how she is. I reminded him that this isn't how a marriage should work. He said he was only trying to help. Then help by staying out of it, I told him, and hung up, going back to my tools. Not long after, my phone rang again, her dad this time. We need to talk, he said immediately. About what? About how you're treating my daughter, he said. I put down my wrench and asked, How am I treating her? He told me she called him in tears that morning, saying I embarrassed her at work and now wasn't speaking to her. I explained that I just didn't want to hear her excuses for flirting. Flirting? She was networking, he countered. That's just how she is. Social. I replied, so her personality excuses disrespecting our marriage? He shot back, if you can't handle that, maybe you married the wrong woman. That hit me, not because it hurt, but because it revealed everything. Her family saw me as the problem. You know what? I said calmly. Maybe I did marry the wrong woman. Silence on the line. What's that supposed to mean? He finally asked. I told him I thought I'd married someone who respected me and our relationship. Apparently, I was wrong. He started to protest, but I cut him off. Your daughter told me the door was right there when I raised my concerns, so I used it. And now everyone's acting like I'm the bad guy for doing what she told me to do. He said she didn't really want me to leave. I ended it simply. Then she shouldn't have said it. I turned off my phone after hanging up. Finally, some peace in the garage. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. She had rallied her whole family to take her side and make me the villain. The real question was how far she'd go to avoid owning up to her actions. That evening, when I came back inside, I found her at the kitchen table surrounded by paperwork. My stomach sank for a moment until I realized they weren't divorce papers, just printouts about marriage counseling, articles about jealousy, and therapist listings. Without looking at me, she said, I made some calls today, found therapists who specialize in trust issues and controlling behavior. Controlling behavior? I asked. Let's not argue. I'm trying to save this marriage, she insisted. I sat down across from her. By diagnosing me with problems I don't have? She listed my offenses, embarrassing her at the work event, leaving suddenly, ignoring her now. I reminded her, I simply walked out the door you pointed me toward. How is that wrong? She slammed her hand on the table. Stop saying that! You know that's not what I meant. I calmly asked what she did mean. She said I was being unreasonable and she was frustrated. I told her I felt disrespected, but somehow her feelings always seemed to matter more. She picked up one of her articles. This says jealousy often comes from insecurity or childhood issues. I shot back. Did you find anything about wives flirting with other men? I wasn't flirting, she insisted. You were networking. Right. I forgot, I said, shaking my head. She began pacing. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You're sarcastic and dismissive instead of fixing the real issue. And what's the real issue? I asked. Your inability to trust me. Should I trust you? I asked directly. Yes, she said without hesitation, because I know my intentions. I leaned back. Your intentions don't matter to me anymore. Your actions do. That's not how marriage works, she said. No, that's exactly how it works, I corrected her. You can't act however you like and expect me to ignore it just because you claim it meant nothing. She stopped pacing and faced me squarely. Fine. If that's how it's going to be, here's the deal. Either you agree to go to counseling and work on your trust issues, or I'm done. You're done? I'm done putting up with accusations, jealousy, and feeling like I can't even be myself around you. So you're threatening to leave? I asked. I'm telling you what I need for this marriage to continue, she said. I quietly walked over to the counter. And I need a wife who doesn't flirt with other men and then tell me to leave when I object. She folded her arms tightly. So what are you saying? She asked. I'm saying you're right, I replied. One of us should go. Her face turned pale. Wait, what? You said you were done. You told me that I need to change who I am for this marriage to work. But I'm not changing. I'm not going to pretend that your behavior was okay, and I'm not going to therapy to fix problems that aren't mine. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. If you want a husband who's fine with you flirting with other men, then go find that man. But that's not going to be me. She stared at me, shocked. You're talking about divorce? You said you were done, I reminded her. I'm just agreeing. I didn't mean it like that. I was trying to get you to listen. Listen? You think it's reasonable for me to act like your behavior was acceptable? It wasn't inappropriate. Then yes, we need to divorce. The air between us felt heavy. She looked devastated. You're not actually going to go through with this. Why wouldn't I? You don't respect me. You won't admit you did anything wrong. You spent today telling everyone how awful I am. And then you told me to leave unless I went to therapy for issues you invented. Why should we stay married? Because I love you. Do you? Yesterday you said maybe you don't want a husband like me. And today you threaten to leave unless I change. Tomorrow it'll be something else. This isn't new. It's a pattern. Tears began rolling down her cheeks. You're really going to end 5 years over this argument? I'm not ending it. You did that when you decided to flirt with someone else instead of being with me. That was your choice. And when I confronted you, you made another choice. You told me to go. I didn't think you'd actually leave. That's the problem. You thought I'd always stay no matter how you treated me. Now she was sobbing. Please don't do this. We can fix it. I'll do better. Will you? Or will you just hide it better next time? You still won't admit you crossed a line. Fine, I was flirting. Happy now? I'm disappointed, and I'm done. I walked toward the stairs. Behind me, she cried harder. Where are you going? She called. To pack some things. I'll stay somewhere else while we work out the next steps. What steps? Divorce. You can't just leave like this. I turned back. You told me the door was right there. I'm using it. And I climbed the stairs, leaving her crying in the kitchen. For the next 3 days, I stayed at my brother's house. She called constantly, sent texts every few hours, and left voicemails that swung from angry to desperate. This is crazy. You're overreacting. Please come home so we can work this out. I even talked to a lawyer. Do you know how expensive this will be? I'll go to counseling too. We can both work on this. I didn't reply. On Thursday, she appeared at my office. My assistant buzzed me. Your wife's here. She says it's urgent. I sighed. Send her in. She walked in, looking exhausted. Dark circles under her eyes, hair hastily tied back. She sat without waiting for me to invite her. We need to talk. We did, I said. You threatened to leave unless I fixed things you imagined. I called your bluff. I wasn't bluffing. I was desperate. You weren't hearing me. I heard everything. You just didn't like what I said. She leaned forward. I know I messed up. I know I handled it badly. But ending our marriage over one night, that's too much. It's not just one night. It's about who you are and who you expect me to be. I don't get it. You expect me to be the kind of husband who looks the other way when you flirt, who doesn't mind if you act like you're single at parties, who apologizes when you tell him to leave. That's not fair. That's exactly what you expect. And your whole family agrees with you. They think I'm the problem. They're just trying to protect me. And who's looking out for me? Who checked in to see how I felt? Who cared how I was treated? She fell silent. No one. Because to them, your behavior was normal and I was overreacting. Maybe you were a little. Really? Walking away after being told to leave is overreacting? You know what I meant. I do. You think I should stay quiet and take whatever treatment you give me. Be grateful for any attention at all. That's not true, and is it? When was the last time you apologized without justifying it? When did you last take full responsibility for hurting me? She hesitated, opened her mouth to answer, but said nothing. I'll wait, I said. I don't know. I do. Never. Because you don't think you've done anything wrong. You think everyone else is too sensitive. So what do you want from me? Nothing. I don't want anything anymore. She began crying again. Please don't say that. I love you. I know I made mistakes, but I love you. Love isn't enough. Respect and trust matter too. And you don't respect me. I do. You flirted with another man for hours while I watched. You dismissed me when I tried to join. You told me to leave when I objected. Then you spent the next day bad-mouthing me to everyone you know. You told me you'd leave if I didn't go to therapy. How is that showing care or respect? I was scared and desperately trying to hold our relationship together. But you threatened to walk away. You said you wanted to fix things. The problems that you caused. We both had a hand in what went wrong. Really? How was I involved when you chose to flirt with another man? That part was on you. But what happened after that? How we dealt with it. We both made it worse. I almost laughed at that. So you cross a line, then tell me to leave when I get upset, and somehow it's my fault how I reacted. I'm not saying this is all on you. I'm saying we could have handled things differently. No, you could have done things differently. I did exactly what anyone in my position would have done. So that's it? You're ready to end this? I'm ready to stop pretending this is my burden to carry alone. I'm finished pretending your choices were okay. I'm done being with someone who thinks I should just accept whatever scraps of respect she offers. That's not how I see you. But it is. You've treated me like I should just keep quiet and be thankful you picked me, even while acting like you didn't really want to. Tears were streaming down her face now. I never wanted you to feel that way, she said. But you did make me feel that way. And when I told you how much it hurt, you told me I could leave. I was upset and hurting too, but my pain didn't seem to matter then, and it doesn't seem to matter now. It does matter. No, it doesn't. If it really did, you would have apologized right away. You would have been shocked that you hurt me. Instead, you spent days trying to convince everyone that I was the problem. She stood up slowly. So what now? She asked. Now we're getting divorced. You'll find someone who doesn't care when you flirt with other men. I'll find someone who genuinely wants to be with me. But I do want to be with you. No, you want to be with a version of me who stays quiet and never challenges you. But that's not me. She walked toward the door, paused, and turned back. I'm not signing anything. You don't have to. I'll take care of filing the papers. You can fight it if you want, but it won't change anything. Is this really what you want? She asked quietly. What I wanted was a partner who respected me. What I got was someone who pointed at the door when I asked for basic kindness. I'm sorry I said that, she whispered. I'm not. That moment showed me exactly who you are and what you truly think of me. Without another word, she left. 2 weeks later, she signed the divorce papers. In the end, she didn't want to fight. She just wanted to move on. Maybe find someone who wouldn't mind when she acted like she was single. And honestly, I hope she does, because that person sure isn't me.